I was a very much in my masculine energy for years, climbing the corporate ladder, being very, very successful at what I did, and very proud of that. You change when you become a mother. You lose yourself a little bit. My masculine and my feminine energy are really not balanced at all. I just want to be in this man's world competing with them because I'm a woman and I can do it all. Most men aren't even really attracted to that because they want that feminine energy. They already bring that masculine energy. They want their child to have that nurturing, motherly energy in the home. I want to age feeling like a woman. I don't want to feel like a man. I don't want to have all those responsibilities. I want to be free. You can still feel like you need the man because you can't do it all on your own. It's hard. And your children still need a male role model. And the male does teach the child really unique traits and characteristics about men that a woman cannot teach the child. I'm not happy with how my life is, so I've got something that is telling me I can just blame this instead of taking responsibility. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own lives and we're all responsible for our own happiness. And if you're just feeding on that mindset, you're not going to live a happy life blaming others. I mean, yeah, no one's had a perfect life. We've all had hardships.
The lady you just heard was Karen Goni. Karen Goni is a certified health and wellness coach from Canada. She helps women aged 30 plus lose weight and live a healthy life without resorting to quick fixes. Now, Karen also happens to understand feminine and masculine energy and how modern woman channels her masculine to compete with the man in this world. Now, this particular conversation had quite a lingering effect on both me and Chanda. And we spoke about a range of topics. We spoke about women living in their masculine energies to compete with the man. We also talked about women holding a grudge for everything that is wrong in their life. And we also spoke about the modern woman not needing a man because now she can do it all. And Karen has some really interesting takes on all of these. And the conversation gets increasingly interesting. So make sure that you watch or hear this conversation till the end. Listen in.
This is the mother of podcasts. Subscribe our YouTube channel for updates on new episodes every Thursday.
I am first and foremost a mom of 3 boys. So they're soon going to be 6, 8, and 10. And that's my craziness on a daily basis. So
Wow.
I like to say that yes, I'm a career woman. My work-life balance is balanced exactly how I would like it. Could I say that 5 years ago? No. I was a career woman, exhausted, trying to be the best in my career, trying to be the best in my home, trying to be the best with my kids, and almost feeling like I was failing in all of them because I couldn't be the best in all of them. So that's when I woke up one day and said that I want to be the best mom first and foremost. I want to be the best me. And my career is just helping all of that. It's not as important as it once was to me. So I left my corporate job and I started studying nutrition, health and wellness. And yes, I'm a weight loss coach, but to me, weight isn't just the physical. So the ladies that I work with, we do full transformations. We're not just losing the physical weight that they've put on over the years. We're losing the weight of what they're struggling with mentally, what they're struggling with in terms of personas that they've almost put on that aren't them. So we're losing all of that to dig down to their soul, to their core of who they are, so that when they become their physically healthiest, they're not going to revert back to their old self because they've also found out who they are. So it's a very generic term, weight loss coach, but to me, it means so much more than physical weight.
That's what it struck me when I went through your profile that um just because the world runs around tags and we have to define ourselves in like 2 or 3 words doesn't necessarily mean that's the essence of ourselves. You mentioned that you were struggling between your career, your motherhood, and your health and everything. how did that realization strike upon that your career isn't that important to you as connecting with yourself or with your babies? What was that process like? Because that's where the entire story is, right? Realizing the fact that right now, or for that matter, in my life, it's okay to not focus and become like a career woman and rise the corporate ladder. How did that realization come upon?
I would say it's more confirmed now that I'm doing what I love and I'm passionate about. And I was with what I was doing before too, but when I would have to take my children to a daycare at 7:30 in the morning and pick them up at 6:30 in the evening, I had mom guilt. And now I'm going to probably start crying the moment I would drop them off. And then racing to go pick them up. And I said, no. That's not right. That's not what life is. There has to be more. And so I said, I need to work on the inside so I can figure out who I am as a mom and a woman, because you change when you become a mother. You lose yourself a little bit. You need to reclaim her and find her. And when you do, then you can really focus on what you really want to do, because at the end of the day, as your children get older, they're still you. You're a mother, but you're still a woman too. And I believe that women really, really need an outlet, a creative outlet, something to keep that femininity, that part of that woman inside of them going. And often career can be that, but it's finding the right balance while you're a mother too. And then when the children are older, sure, you can make that develop more and more and more. But keeping that healthy balance, I do find is helpful for a woman too.
So, like you said, like women need to have this creative outlet and have their fire sort of a thing, is what I say. I Chanda and I believe that years of trying to compete with a man in a capitalistic world, trying to be the man and wearing the pants, has made us forget our own spirit, our own energies. Yes, Ruskin, you're right. And and a part of what we're trying to do with the podcast is shake the woman of today and remind her that you don't have to compete with the man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're far more than what a man could ever be. They're good. They're good in what they are. Okay, it's all right. I'll pick you up. So you're far, far, far. You're far, because you have been given the ability to procreate.
Mm-hmm.
You have that energy to procreate. You don't have to compete. And I've come to this realization when I got pregnant and I had a child, and it took like about 9 months, 10 months for me to reach here. And it's very easy for me to put them in words now. But to be honest, there are several moments in a day where I would still choose to compete with a man and be like the bread earner for my family and contribute to the financial success. How far is this goal, Karen, do you think, for women to accept the fact that it's okay if you're not earning at a point? Like, I'm not talking about the ones for whom like it's absolutely essential to survive, right? I'm talking about the women who have the leeway, who have the privilege. Even I'm saying, with your money, you can do luxuries, but maybe you can cut down on luxuries for a while in life and just handle like the basics of it till you figure out motherhood. So how far do you think that goal is?
I think for myself, I was a very much in my masculine energy for years, climbing the corporate ladder, being very, very successful at what I did, and very proud of that. I can do this. Look at what I've accomplished. And to me, that was what I would sort of hang on the wall as my accomplishment, is my titles, how I've climbed. And then when I became a mother, I said, those things, I guess they're important, but they're not really what I want to be defined as. I And then I really assessed myself and I said, my masculine and my feminine energy are really not balanced at all. I just want to be in this man's world competing with them because I'm a woman and I can do it all. And at the end of the day, to be perfectly honest, most men aren't even really attracted to that because they want that feminine energy. They already bring that masculine energy. They want their child to have that nurturing, motherly energy in the home because the energy shifts in a home too when you have that masculine energy and when you have your feminine. It's a shift. It's a calmer energy. And I feel like as women, we sometimes have to check ourselves and say, okay, am I wanting to thrive after this career because the masculine in me says, I can do this and I'm going to do this? Or do I need to give myself a step? You know what? In the grand scheme of things, when I'm 80 years old, it's going to be pretty amazing when my grandchildren and my children are coming up to me for great big hugs because I was so nurturing and loving to them. And that job's going to mean nothing, really. It's not. Yeah, I'm going to have stories to tell, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be more excited to tell stories of things that happened with my children and bond more with them as I'm aging. And I feel like in today's world, too many women, and I see this with friends, when they're in midlife, they don't have a strong connection with their children when they've prioritized work over their children. And I think sometimes when I get in that masculine energy of I want to provide for the home, I want to take charge, I have to give myself a check and think about people I see that are like that and go, but they're not, I don't want that life that they're living now in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. I don't want that. I want a family around the table. I want connections. And if you don't build those connections at a young age and nurture them, like business connections, right? Networking, you have to nurture them. Well, you have to do the same with your children. And it's that constant reminder. And it's hard when you're in the moment. It's hard when they're this little. When they get a little bit older, you get more independence and it's easier. But when they're really young, it's hard. It's hard.
You've like given me a little bit of hope.
There is hope. That's a hard stage. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
hard.
that is.
And
Chanda has an almost 3-year-old.
so,
Chanda is an almost 3-year-old. He's in like the thick of the toddler stage where he's
Yeah.
asking why and hows behind every question, everything in the world. And Chanda decides to answer all of them.
yeah. No,
Think of it this way. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to ask you, so when did you realize this? Like you were not happy with what you were doing. Did it happen after you had all three of your boys, or when you had one, or like the second one? When did this happen?
I think with the first, I still had that strong mentality of I can do it all, career woman. The second, I realized, wow, this is exhausting. I can't handle all this. How am I doing this? And then by the third, I was like, I'm out. I cannot balance this all. My nervous system is a wreck. It's just too much. But the first one, I don't think I fully woke up until the second. And I realized there's no way I can give my energy to all of these outlets. And my children, I don't want to be short-tempered. Hi.
She's a friend. Say hi.
So I think
Yeah.
with the first one, it was difficult, especially when you're working and then you go on your maternity leave and you go, this is much different. This is not how I've been living for the last 10, 15 years of my life. And you have to slow down in a different kind of way.
But Karen, what particularly strikes me about you is that you speak about feminine energy, all right, which is really important to me because it's been a revelation, honestly, to me after birth that I'm sorry for that. That realizing the potential of a feminine energy, keeping it intact, nurturing it is so much more important than every other thing that we're doing today, right? how do you look at this? How do you vision young girls to, like daughters, to basically, how do you envision daughters being raised up, the next generation of daughters being raised up, the next generation of women be raised up? Like, I'm not saying that we cannot go back to the huts and like to the jungles and say, okay, women have to like stay in the cave and like we'll get the man is going to get the meat and they're going to cook it on the fire. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like in balance with the current world, how do you see, what is your vision for the next generation of daughters?
So I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I often think about, as I'm an aging woman, what's my purpose in life as I age? And when I feel like I feel most connected with myself when I take time to myself, reflect on myself. I do a lot of mirror work. So kind of talking to myself through a mirror, but getting to know myself more and what I want in my life. And I really feel like as I age, it's important for me to keep my feminine light strong because there are younger women and for younger men too that need to see that energy. And I don't want the world to become institutionalized, uh, all masculine. I don't want that to be what happens. But I also think that um, the world needs our warmer hearts, and that if we're not staying connected to that part of us, then what's the world going to turn into? And yeah, I just feel like it's so important for women to find that. And I mean, I didn't feel this way after my first child. After my first child, I still was very strong. This is how society needs to run. This is how it needs to be. I am reading a really good book right now. You may have read it before, Women Who Run with Wolves, which really, maybe this is why I'm more intense about this right now, because it's all about how this women go through stages with their psyche as they develop, and how they're the too good women where they just want to do everything for everyone. Then they phase out of that and they become a different type of woman. And it's really true. We change in each stage. So for me to say how you might be after the second and third child, until you experience it, it's hard to resonate with and believe. But yeah, I think I want to age feeling like a woman. I don't want to feel like a man. I don't want to have all those responsibilities. I want to be free and um, have that intuition that we have, where I don't feel men have the same type of intuition that women have, but we lose it when we're connected more to our masculine side.
I'm sorry for stepping away. This,
That's okay.
yeah. Um.
I know
Uh,
Shandan is trying to speak, but you're muted, Shandan.
yeah. I think her son has taken away her mic.
Oh.
Okay. So while Chanda figures out her audio, um, how do I have just given birth like about 9 months ago, and I've realized that I'm too much into my masculine energy. Okay. And I still want to be able to like go ahead and earn, because that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. How do I start? Where is the start to finding my feminine spirit? Where is the start, Karen?
I think for me, I took little steps. One of the first steps I did was I drew a picture of how I actually wanted to see myself. So I didn't look at myself at that moment. I thought, what do I want to look like as a woman? Like, what type of woman do I want to be? And then I looked for types of women that I saw as role models in different stages of life. And I don't mean celebrities. I mean, they could even be women you know. And I thought to myself, I really like how this woman has aged, and I want to be more like that. And then little things, I was never one to pamper myself. I kind of took pride in being a tomboy, being raised on a farm, doing farm work, and I was macho and all of that. I took pride in that until I realized, yeah, no. I was just so disconnected from myself that I didn't know any different. So envisioning the type of woman I wanted to be, and then starting to do little things like, especially when you're home with your child, when you put the child for a nap or to bed, go and do a facial, but do it slow and admire your body and your face and I mean, don't do everything so quick. Slow it down and start to admire your body more. Like, really start to love who you are, because your body changes after motherhood. And it gets hard because you don't see yourself the same. But the reality is, I work with so many women that they're all beautiful in so many ways. And when they come to me and they want to lose weight, I'm looking in their eyes. I'm looking for that glow. I'm looking for that sparkle. And that's what I see as beauty, not the skin. So look yourself in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and don't rush it. And do you see that sparkle? And ask yourself what you need to give yourself to see that sparkle.
Um, you're beautifully expressing like uh, how we can be on the side with our feminine energy. Can you hear me now?
Mhm.
Am I audible now? Okay. So I really want to know, there are women out there who have to provide for the family, who have to put the food on table, who are single mothers. How do they connect with their feminine energy? Because, they have to be masculine to be out there in the world. They have to be out, not with their children. They cannot be with their children. How do they connect to that energy?
Great question. So I'm actually in my second relationship. I was married for 15 years and was a single mother of a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old for a short time, but for a bit. And that was hard because I was on my feminine journey and I didn't want to have to be that masculine energy, but I had to. And so I I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to lose who I've become. I'm going to stick with being her. And I'm just going to really trust my intuition. And I would take maybe 20 minutes to myself after I put the kids to bed. I wouldn't scroll social media. I'd sit beside a candle and I'd say, almost like speaking to whoever you speak to, whether it be spirit, God, whoever, and say, please give me signs throughout my day that I'm doing what's right. Please help me not lose who I've found and show me throughout the day that I'm doing what's right. This is hard. This is not what I expected for myself, but please help me. Please guide me. And I mean, within a few months, this man magically appeared in my life that wanted to provide for me. And I said, I don't need this. The masculine in me, I don't need this. I can do this myself. And I had to say to myself, calm down. Don't, you're pulling out your masculine because you've had to be that. If someone wants to provide for you, that's actually in a man something that just comes out of them when they're connected enough for themselves. Because there's some men that know they will lean on a woman to provide. But with a man that actually is really connected with himself, he wants to do all that. And when you don't allow him, he sort of sees it as rejection, as, well, that's what I'm meant to do, is help provide for you, and you're not letting me. So what's going on here? I don't understand. But it's because us as women, we want to be, well, I can do it. I don't need your help. But it's not them thinking that you can't do it. It's just that's how they get comfort, how they feel is providing. So I think it's being appreciative of it because of the fact that they're probably exhausted when it comes to the men. They're exhausted probably too. You're exhausted too. So both sides need to be appreciative of one another. And when it comes to a woman, I mean, I think the people in the world that have the most hardest lives are single parents. 100%. It's the hardest thing I ever had to do alone. And I'm thankful that I'm not doing it alone anymore. But if you have friends that are single parents, they're not going to ask for help because they're leaning in their masculine energy. You just do it for them. You say, let me watch your kids for the afternoon because they need it the most. They really do. And let them go find their feminine energy for the afternoon.
Karen, you mentioned about a man having this innate need to provide, right? So in a world where little girls are being raised up to fend for themselves, to be financially independent, now the girl is going out there earning for herself, in 35% cases even more than their spouse, their husbands. Yeah. So in those relationships, when a woman is feeling that she can earn, she can give birth herself, as in like with the of course, and she's not needing the man now, right? The modern woman is not needing the man, because I've heard this conversation going on a lot of places where they've said that now women are able to do everything for themselves. Why do we need the man?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I feel like I understand, because I've felt that energy before where it's like, well, I don't need you. I make my own money. I can pay all the bills. But the reality is, yes, that's the way society has gone. And I don't think it's going to change. I think that that's just how it's going to be. But I feel like we're looking at men in the wrong eyesight now. So before it was the men would just provide the food, provide the house, all of that. But now it's more, okay, well, if the woman is working too, you can still feel like you need the man because you can't do it all on your own. It's hard. And your children still need a male role model. And the male does teach the child really unique traits and characteristics about men that a woman cannot teach the child. As much as we try and we think we can, it's just different energy. But at the same time, I believe if a woman is working and the man, and okay, she's making more, she has to tone her ego down and say, okay, I'm making more, but it's for the good of the family. But the man also has to step up and say, okay, my wife, significant other, is not in the home 24/7 or not 24/7 a mother, then I need to start doing a different role as well. And you look at your partner a lot different then, and you see their significance and their importance because they are playing with the children actively. They are maybe cooking some of the meals, doing some of the chores. I mean, I feel like I personally would never like a man to 100% do that. I don't think I could live in that type of environment where, say, a stay-at-home dad and I worked full time. Just those dynamics I wouldn't enjoy. So I feel like, though, if a man is doing that occasionally or a good percentage of the time, you absolutely see their value and their purpose in a much different way than we used to. So it's not that they're just here to provide for us financially. They're here because a child can benefit from having both people in the relationship. So it's changing your mindset of what is the value of this man? Well, it's not just to provide for me financially. I know I can do that on my own, but it's for a role model for my children. And it's because us as women, when a man holds you, when you need to be held, it calms you. Your nervous system just, and when you don't have that, and I felt that as a single mother, when you never have someone embrace you or help calm you or talk you through the end of your day, it's a significant loss. It's hard. And so a man does have a valuable role. It's just not financially anymore.
You want to ask a question?
Go ahead.
All right. So, Karen, like I personally, I'm a little distant from the idea of the woke world. All right. I'm a little bit distant from it, of the fact where feminism goes to a point where feminism becomes about bashing men, or feminism becomes about it's been a hard ride for us as women and you are responsible, like men, right? I'm a little distant from that entire the story, okay, that's been created. And the problem is that the story has been ingrained and being fed and being, narrated so well through reels, through several social media accounts, that people who are being fed the story are not realizing that that's not natural. All right. Men are not solely responsible for everything that's going wrong with you. All right. You are responsible. You yourself are responsible. The elder generation of women, I'm not saying they're responsible, but they have a role to play in what's happening with you right now. How do you think we can break out or recognize when we are being fed with agendas, right? Because I feel that can only happen when you're in connect with yourself, that you can spot bullshit, when you can spot crap, that, oh, this is crap, and I can spot it, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think about this?
I agree. I think you got it 100%, that when you know your true values, then you know when something just doesn't align with you. And I feel like that almost is a victim mindset, that, I'm not happy with how my life is, so I've got something that is telling me I can just blame this instead of taking responsibility. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own lives, and we're all responsible for our own happiness. And if you're just feeding on that mindset, you're not going to live a happy life blaming others. I mean, yeah, no one's had a perfect life. We've all had hardships. Hardships are meant to help us learn and grow in life, not just blame and blame and blame. So no, I am not for blaming men. And I also believe I don't like to watch any of that, because I'm raising 3 boys, and I do not want my boys to be raised thinking at a young age they're already responsible for all of that when they've done nothing wrong. So if I were to go on that mindset with those extreme feminists, then I'm doing a dishonor to my children, my sons, and that's not fair to them, because then how do those women feel with their own children then, if they have boys? Could you imagine that, how they're interacting with them, and do they already have a bias towards them because they're little men? No, I don't support that.
That's a like pretty good question you've asked people who think like that, or are raising men like that. But I think I wouldn't call them feminist also, because that's not what feminism is. It actually started to be for all of us to be equal as human beings and not compete with each other.
This is the mother of podcasts. Subscribe our YouTube channel for updates on new episodes every Thursday. This podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook.